This paper looks at COVID viral shedding after infection through the eyes in ferrets. Ferrets were inoculated with COVID through the eyes using two different variants of COVID, the Delta variant and then a Washington variant, where they then assessed viral replication in both respiratory and ocular specimens, and transmission was evaluated in direct contact or respiratory droplet settings. The authors found that COVID mounted a productive and transmissible infection in ferrets following ocular inoculation. And unlike the other studies we looked at, they couldn't find a difference between time to peak viral shedding between those infected through the eyes versus those infected through the nose. So, why is this important? Well, COVID has been reported among individuals wearing respiratory protection in the absence of eye protection, highlighting the capacity of these respiratory viruses to exploit non respiratory routes of exposure to initiate productive infection, which is just a fancy way of saying that even if you're wearing a mask, you can still get infected with COVID through the eyes. The authors cite a study that the use of eye protection has been associated with lower COVID infection risk, and also importantly, that there have been reports of modest reductions in COVID disease in people wearing eyeglasses, which make these bad boys not just a great thing for my vision and protecting my eyes, but also protecting me from disease. In this study, they inoculated ferrets by the liquid ocular route, which means that they took COVID that was mixed in with a liquid and then they basically eye dropped it into the eyes. And all of the animals that were infected through this route produced respiratory infection with COVID. Interestingly, ferrets that were infected through the eyes had mild signs of COVID. Nevertheless, COVID infection led to productive infection in all ferrets, where ferrets were shedding peak viral loads between days 5 and 7 after infection, with viral RNA persisting until days 11 to 13 in these ferrets. And when these infected animals were placed in contact with other animals, those animals got sick as well. And interestingly, as an added-on analysis in this paper, they wanted to see that if selective pressures were put on the virus, if you were infected through the eyes or if you were infected through the nose, to see if one way or the other would force mutation in the virus. And regardless of route, it didn't seem to matter. The ferrets acquired similar mutations regardless of the route of infection.